Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you an arrangement that I wrote for Iron Man. Now with this arrangement, I wanted it to sound true to the record. In other words, I wanted it to honor the parts that Tony Iommi, the guitarist in Black Sabbath, plays. Therefore, this arrangement has a sound, a feel, a playing style that is much more reminiscent of guitar than an ukulele adaptation. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that if you have never played guitar before, this might be a little bit challenging coming from only an ukulele background. But sometimes when we step out of our comfort zone and we tackle arrangements that are a little bit different, a little bit more unique, that's a great way to grow as a musician. So with that said, let's take a step back. Let's talk about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire arrangement. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Also, you could go to the site, rockclass101.com. You could do a search for Iron Man. You can find the tabs there, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. So with all that said, let's go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this tune. Don't forget to grab the low G ukulele, and I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello, in today's lesson we're going to learn the iconic Iron Man on low G ukulele. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to bring the camera down. We're going to start with the basic riff here, just using our low G string. To start, we're going to play 4 on the G, use your index finger. I like to just pluck all this with my thumb to start. I'm going to pluck that note, then I'm going to play 7 on the G with my ring finger. Play it again, slide it up to 9, then play the 9 again. And that's the first bar. Sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going in the next part here, a little bit challenging, but we're going to be going off the 12th and 11th frets of the G string. I like to just slide my ring finger up to fret 12, preset my middle finger here on fret 11. I'm going to practice going back and forth, so I go 12, 11, 12, 11, 12, keeping that middle finger on the whole time, and then just holding the 12 there with the ring. Going into the next note here, we're going to play the 7th fret of the G string. I like to just slide my ring finger back down, play that again, slide it back up to 9, and then play the 9 again. So a little challenging on that part, but measure 2 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the pair of these measures together should sound something like this. And when you play this, it's best to play it twice through, just like the music show. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to play measures 1 and 2 all the way together twice. It should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty neat, right? From here we go on to melody B, which is going to add some harmony to this to create that sort of, riff with the verse sound. So to do this, we're going to play the 4 on the G string again, but we're also going to add the ring finger here on the 6th fret of the C string. Now I like to use my thumb and index and kind of pinch the strings together to play this. Now when I say pinch them together, I don't mean like this. I mean offset. See how my thumb is in front and my index is behind? That allows my thumb to pull in front of the index and my index to pull behind the thumb to get a really nice clean tone as I go through. I'm going to pluck those 2 together. Then I'm going to play the 2nd fret on the C string with my index finger and the 5th fret on the E string with my pinky. It's a little challenging, but this is a bar chord. Same deal here, just the thumb is now on the C and index on the E. Then I'm going to pluck that again, slide it up to 4 and 7, keeping those fingers really stable. This is sort of some bar chord playing on the ukulele. And then I'm going to play the 4 and 7 another time to finish that measure 3. 3 should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the next bar, we're going to slide this shape up to 7 and 10, play that. Then we're going to slide down to 9 and 6 with those same positions. So you see how each finger, the index and pinky, just slide down 1 fret, but then they're going to slide back up and then back down, and we have to keep the tone going the whole time before then we play the 7 and 10 again. And then we slide back down to 2 and 5, play the 2 and 5 again, slide up to 4 and 7, and play that another time. So measure 4 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Easy to overshoot and jump all different places, especially when you play it slow, just kind of like I did there. And that's a good little teaching opportunity, because when you're learning this, it's tough because there's a lot of really individual movement of the fingers. But when you play it slow, it loses its tone. It starts to go away. So you have to trust that as you practice it slow, you'll get it fast. And as you do that, as you practice it, you will get it. It can be a little bit difficult at times. So that you can hear it, here's measures 3 and 4 together. And I'm going to repeat it because it's played twice so that you can get a really good idea of how it sounds. It should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... One more time. Pretty cool. As we go on to the next part here, we're going to be playing the same sort of riff type of sound, but now we're going to be using higher harmony yet. We're going to start here at the 4 and 7 of the C and E. Then we're going to move up to 7 and 10 on the C and E. And then we're going to move up to the 9 and 12 after we play the 7 and 10 and slide up again before we play that one more time. So we're going way up the fretboard. Measure 5 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we're going to be playing on the next measure here on 6. We're going to play 10 on the E and the A. Use your middle finger on the E string and your ring finger on the A string. Notice how they tilt the fingers towards the shoulder so that the fingernails are tilted towards the shoulder and make enough room for the fingers, because if they're straight up and down, it doesn't really fit. We're going to pluck those 2 10s, and we're going to do the same little slide stuff we've done before. We're going to play it, slide it down to 9, up back to 10, back down to 9, and then play the 10 again there. So it goes. Then we're going to slide these 2 down to 5 on the E and A. Play that again. Slide it to 7 on the E and A, and play that one more time. So measure 6 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair 5 and 6 sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now from here we go on to measure 7 and 8, and good news, it's exactly the same as 3 and 4. So we get our first repetition, and don't worry, there's a few other moments of repetition like this. 7 and 8 should sound like this, again the same as 3 and 4. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, at this point, it goes on to the bridge section, but before we do that, let's go ahead and hear what the entire riff and verse, measures 3 through 8, should sound like. It should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Cool. From here we go on to the bridge, melody C. Now this part's a little challenging just because the chord is kind of awkward. If you're a guitarist, this is a little easier because you might be used to it. But if you're primarily an ukulele player like I am, you might find these shapes are a little foreign, and that's what makes it a good challenge. We're going to start here by playing 4 on the G. I'm going to use the index, 6 on the C with the ring, and 7 on the E with the pinky. So index, ring, and pinky. We're going to pluck those 3 now. So I'm using my thumb, index, and middle fingers to pluck those 3 strings. Pluck all of them together And then I'm going to just kind of mute the string. So I have to raise the pressure off with that as I go through. Now, that's kind of tricky. There's a few different ways you can do it. You can almost just do a chunk if you wanted to. You can raise the pressure off with these. You also can bring the hands super close in for a moment. You can actually also just set the fingers on the strings to create that sort of pop. This is what you're going to see me do as I play it. I just think it works really well to get that sort of technique. Just note that there's a few different ways that you can get that sort of muted technique. But I like doing this because then I set my fingers up for the next part. Bring the camera back out, because after I pluck this, I do the mute and then I slide it up 3 frets to 7, 9, and 10. And then I do another mute and then I slide it back down to 4, 6, and 7. Then I do another mute, then slide it down 1 more fret to 3, 5, and 6. And this can be difficult with these fingers tracking them, but it sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 10 now, I'm going to slide it down to 2, 4, and 5. I'm going to do a down, up, down. Now, when I do this down, up, down, it's totally fine for me to actually leave the A string open because it's the same note as the 5 here. But I usually am muting it with the index finger just as it's sort of resting over. And I try to directionalize the strum so that the A is not really featured. Just note though, if you incidentally hit the A, totally works, right? But the goal is at the last down, we mute the strings with that sort of staccato feel, which means we raise the pressure off to create that shorter sound. Then we're going to play 1 on the G string, slide the index down, and then we're going to play 2 twice on the G. I like to just slide my index up. Then we play 3 on the G, which I like to slide my index up again, and play that. Now that is going to lead back into that first chord that we played. It basically has a little bit of a repeat, it's just a little different, but that's just something to keep in mind as you're working on it. So measure 10 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair, 9 and 10, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. As we go on to measures 11 and 12, they start off exactly the same. The exact same. Exactly the same as what we did on 9 and 10, except instead of doing for the last 2 beats of measure 10, on measure 12, we're just going to tap our thumb on the side of the ukulele twice. And that's the only difference, which is awesome because it's already challenging, right? But measure 11 and 12 should sound something like this. Again, the same as 9 and 10, just adding 2 thumb taps at the end should be like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that you can hear all of melody C, that bridge section, measures 9 through 12 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty cool, right? It's a challenging part. It's really easy to get off with some of these shapes as you're working on the bar chords, especially if you've never done them before. So just take it nice and slow and try to get comfortable tracking the fingers together as you slide. A little tip here is the perspective of the fingers changes from a fret number perspective, right? You see how it's a fret between here and then these are adjacent, and as you slide up here, fret between here, but these are adjacent. But the frets get smaller as you move up, so you have to squeeze the fingers a little tighter as you go up, and then you have to expand them as you go down. That's challenging, and it can be a good idea to just kind of play these little bar chords and practice tracking them to get comfortable. Pretty cool though. From here we go on to melody D, and guess what? It's this exact same thing we played on measures 3 and 4 with the verse riff part. No change whatsoever. So in time, melody D should sound like this. Measures 13 and 14 repeated should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. From here, we go on to melody E, the bridge. This part's a little tricky because it's got a lot more individual notes. We're going to start with our same B5 chord we've been playing throughout this whole thing, the 4, 6, 7 with our index, ring, and pinky. Now, we can do a down strum on this and mute the A string, or we can pluck all three, whatever's more comfortable for you. And then we're going to play the 7 on the E string, 3 times pretty quickly. Now, I like to actually alternate between my middle and index here. You can also use your thumb. You can use your index or your middle, alternate with whatever fingers you want to do. It's just about building up the speed to play that enough. So I like to, again, use my sort of index and middle fingers going back and forth. And then what happens for the next note after you play those 3 times, 1, 2, 3, is then it plays the 5 on the A, and you can actually just add that with your middle finger here to the 5th fret of the A string, which is kind of neat. It's kind of built in here. Then you can play the 7 on the E again. This is a hard measure. In time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the next measure, we take this shape, slide it down 2 frets, do the 2, 4, 5, so that's that, sorry, A5. And then we're going to play 4 on the A string twice. So to do this, you need to bring your ring finger onto that 4th fret of the A string to be able to play that note. And then we're going to play 2 on the A. I like to use the index finger there. And then open on the A string to finish that measure on 16. So 16 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the timing there, it's easy to kind of get off. You can syncopate it a lot of different ways. As long as you're feeling that whichever way you want it to sort of sound works really well. That's one of the fun things about these sort of rock riffs is you can syncopate them and play them in some different rhythms. But so that you can hear it, here's 15 and 16 together. It should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And as we go on to 17 here, this is really fun. We're going to start by playing the 4 and 6 on the G and C strings, the same way we did before, index and ring finger. Pluck those 2. And then you're going to play 4 on the G, which is there with the index. And then you're going to play 7 on the G with the pinky. Then you're going to play 4 on the C with the index. Play that 4 again on the C. 5 on the C with the middle. 6 on the C with the ring. And then you're going to play 5 on the E with the middle, and then 6 on the E with the ring, and 7 on the E with the pinky. So you see the fingers keep 1 finger per fret this whole time. As it goes through. And that's what creates it, a nice, efficient method for fretting and playing this. Now, that sounds something like this, really slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, when you're working on this and you're trying to build up speed to play at full speed, it's okay to use hammer-ons when you're trying to go up on those really quickly. It's tough to practice those hammer-ons slow. I'd actually recommend plucking them individually slow, but as you speed up, it's okay to add those hammer-ons to make it a little bit easier rather than trying to pluck the strings every single time. So just a quick little tip there. Going into 18, well, 18 is exactly the same as 17 was, which is kind of neat. And at that point, it actually repeats, and that's the whole bridge section. But so that you can hear it, here's 17 and 18 together. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And this bridge section is just played twice all the way through so that you can hear it. Here's measures 15, 16, 17, and 18 repeated. Should sound something like this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's okay, again, to play with the rhythm and feel it out a little bit. There's a lot of different opportunities when you're playing this type of tune. So here's the last part of the tune, which is the outro. And this is pretty fun because it's very different than the rest of the tune. You're going to start with thinking about where you just came from. We're at that sort of one finger per fret between 4 and 7, right? Well, we're going to slide this whole shape up 2 frets, and you're going to play 9 on the E string with the pinky, and then 7 on the E with the middle, and then 8 on the C with the ring, and then 7 with the middle, and then 6 on the C with the index. And you want to make sure after you play the 8, you're going to actually mute the string, and then play the 7, and then mute the string before going to the 6 to create that little rest feel in between the notes. So it sounds something like this when you go through it. Here's measures 19 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And going into measure 20, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little rest, slide the index down to 4, play that, and then use the index on 4 of the G, and you're going to play that again, and then 5 with the middle, and then 6 with the ring, right? So measure 20 goes something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair of measures there, 19 and 20, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And going into measure 21, well, it's off of a repeat. You just play the exact same thing again, only this time you hold the 6 on the G string and you hold it through the duration of 22 as well. So that you can hear it, here is measures 19, 20, do the repeat, 19 into 21 into 22 for the whole outro. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And there you have it. Bringing the camera back up. This is a fun tune. It's quite challenging, again, if you don't play guitar much. This was a really fun one to work out with Drew at rock class because he plays guitar. I don't. And so when we were collaborating on this arrangement, I made a more ukulele version, and then he made this version, which is really more accurate to the original and sounds really good. But it's played in a very different style than I'm used to. If you notice when I do lessons, I like to use the A string a lot in my lessons. And when you look through this, how many times is the A string played? Well, it's played like here. And like, that's almost it. It's also played on this part, right? But that's like it. Everything else is all on the G, C, and E, which that's a really common thing to see in the world of guitar, where they're not going to be playing their first string quite as much. So that's just something to note. And if this is especially challenging for you, that might be one of the reasons why. So it's a lot of fun to play. It's a great exercise in left hand and right hand technique. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a lot of fun. This is one of those staples in rock music. So if you like rock, you kind of got to know how to play Iron Man. And it's a lot of fun to play on the ukulele. So I do want to give you a friendly reminder before we wrap up that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Iron Man. Don't forget too, on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab here, so you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this. We'll catch you in the next lesson. Take care.